Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to our second JavaScript workshop, but our first on some specific methods. So today we're looking at Array.find and Array.filter. And these are two useful built-in array methods in JavaScript. Could you name any others? What other ones have you used so far? Go ahead, yeah, just shout them out. Reduce, map, yeah. Sum, every, anyone else? Length is a property, not a method, but yeah, we use it a lot, and we do use it on arrays, but it's actually a property, yeah. Any other ones? Includes is one, yeah. Both for arrays and for strings, includes. I think you used things to add or remove elements in an array. You've got push, yeah. Reverse is one, hop, shift, unshift, yeah, all of these, right? So there's over 30 built-in array methods. So arrays are very, very powerful in JavaScript. There's a lot of useful functions and a lot of stuff we can do with arrays in JavaScript. Okay, so I know we don't use slides much in this course, but sometimes just to display key information, it's useful to have a slide or two, I think. But I know Ricardo's opinion differs slightly there. Yeah, so here's our first little problem. I know Ricardo did a fruits example yesterday, right? And you had like if you went to Tesco's and you got your shopping, you were buying some fruits, you had a list of items, and maybe you just wanted to check whether one of those items was on your list, yeah? And I think you worked out you could use one of these methods to find out if that was on a list, yeah? So you used what in that case? Just to find if one item was on a list? Or return that item from a list. So just to find an item in a list, you could use the array method find, right? Yeah. So I've got a different example here. This is just with numbers, and yeah, mostly they're square numbers. There might be some non-square numbers in there. Yeah, there's a couple, right? So if I wanted to check whether the number 4 was present in this numbers array and return the number 4, how would you go about that? What method might you use to begin with? Yeah, let's use find, yeah, just to return the actual element itself. Could you start me off with the syntax, Ewan, of how I'd write that? Return numbers.find. That's all you got? Okay, it's a good start. Thanks, Ewan, for starting us off. Could anyone help him with the general syntax of find? Or let's say, how many arguments does find take? 1. It does take 1. What is that one argument? Number. Okay, so like if I did that then, can it only take one argument, find? Yeah, for this question we're going to use 1, but specifically it's not just going to be a named variable that is our argument. Find takes one argument, and that argument is a callback function. Yeah? And then the callback function itself can take a number of arguments, but the general syntax is we're going to have a callback function in there. Yeah? Yeah, so I'm going to rewrite the callback function in a second, but just to know that find itself takes one argument, and that is a callback function. The syntax for filter is almost identical, right? If I wanted to use filter, I can literally replace find with filter, and that also takes a callback function. So the syntax is identical pretty much, yeah, for find and filter. So if you learn one, you can learn the other. You've just got to learn the key differences between them. Yeah, and then Vincent said that we could have an argument to this callback function, and he wanted to call that number, yeah? So I'm going to write it in the longhand form for now. So we'd have a function We can make it an anonymous function. And then in general, that callback function can take 4 arguments. Could anyone name them all for 1 point? 1 board challenge point. Maybe 2 points. It's a little bit difficult. So. Just in general terms. So you said number, right, as the first one, Vincent, yeah? So what does that refer to? Yeah, current value in the array, right? So find will iterate over each element in the array. So perhaps you'd want to call that element. Go ahead, Richard. It can also take an index and an array. There's the 4th one. We're not going to cover it until later in the course. It's not an accumulator, that's for reduce. There's one other argument it can take. No, I mean you might not have heard of this, but it's a this parameter or a this value. Yeah, so that will be a pointer for the this object in JavaScript, but we won't cover that until probably about week 6. So don't worry about it at this stage. We won't encounter any examples, but that use the this value. Out of these, how many are required for the function to run? Just one. Yeah, and that is the what one? Say again, I can't hear you. Element. Yeah, the first one, right? So we need a function with an element, and then this callback function, you can think of it like a test. We want it to return either true or false, or a truthy or a falsy value. Yeah. So if we were looking for the number 4 in the array, we'd have to write a test so that true is returned when the element matches the number 4. Yeah? So it would be something like element equals 4. Right? We can be more specific in this case. We could write number, as we've got an array of numbers. So this bit here needs to evaluate to true or false based on the value of the element being passed in. So the callback function is going to get called on every single, well not necessarily every single element in the array, but it's going to get called on the elements in that array. So will this work as I've written it? You shaking your head, Porrick?
I don't think it will, but I can't think of a logical reason why it will.
Okay. I'm missing what, sorry? Number present in array. Fantastic. Yep. So here we've passed in the number 4, but we're not using it anywhere, right? But I've actually hard coded the value 4 there, so it should work. But you're quite right. Usually we'd want to maybe compare it with the input or something like that, yeah? And then dynamically set that number. Yeah, is that what you're alluding to? Yeah, cool. Will it work now that I've done that then? Who says yes?
I may be wrong. 2 returns, is it?
Okay, so we've got 2 functions though, right? So the outer function returns the result of find, and find itself takes a callback function. So we need to return something from that callback function, either true or false, truthy or falsy. Yeah, so we get 4 back if I run that. So it does in fact work. So the key things here where the find takes one argument, and that argument is a function. That function must have some sort of comparison, some sort of test going on inside it that evaluates to truthy or falsy. Or think of true and false for now if you're not sure what I mean by truthy and falsy. So does the number equal the input? And how many times does this function here run? I think Ricardo added some breakpoints last time, right? In this case, you're saying it runs 2 times, yeah? Who was that? Was that Vincent said that, or Ewan as well? Oh, Porrick, sorry, yeah. It's because you're facing the other way, I can't tell. So Porrick says 2 times in this case.
I would say for each element.
You reckon find goes for each element? Anais, yeah. So I'll just put all. Nilufa, what do you think?
2 times.
2 times? Richard? 2 times? Vincent? 2 times. Okay. So we've got a slight difference of opinion. Either 2 of you are right or 4 of you are right. Let's run it and find out. So, iteration 1 of find. When it calls the callback function the first time, the value of number is 1, right? That's expected. It's at the first position in the array. It's at index 0 in the array. Number equals input. Well, we can see 1 equals 4. Nah, that's going to return false, right? So because that has returned false, it will keep going. Next one, number equals 4. Okay, we're now at the second element in the array, index 0. Number is 4. If I hover over that, it should appear. Yep, number's 4 and input's 4. So if we've got 4, triple equals 4, what will that evaluate to? True, yeah? So that inner function, that callback function, is going to return true. And what happens when find receives true for its callback? What does find return? It returns the current element in the array, yeah? Which in this case is 4. And therefore we get 4 on the console, and it doesn't iterate through any more times. No, because it found a truthy answer. 4 equals 4, yep. And therefore it finished, yeah?
So will it not continue when you've got the second 4 in that array?
Nope, because what does find do? It just finds the first element that matches that test condition. Once it's found one, it stops and it just returns that value. Filter, on the other hand, yeah, what does that do? So let's now put in filter instead of find. Notice I've changed absolutely nothing else, right? All I did was change find to filter. All the other syntax is identical. If I run that now, will it still work? We get a different answer, right? But what do we expect it to return now? Rather than returning just the number 4, what's the return value of filter? It's definitely an array, yeah. What does that array contain? Sorry, one at a time, Vincent? Yeah. Or you? All of the inputs. Yeah, so for filter, it will now check for all of the 4s, yeah, contained in that array. So we should have an array with how many 4s in? 2? Not this one? What about 44? But the triple equal sign, yeah. So these are distinct numbers, right? 44 and 4 are different distinct numbers. Let's run that then, see what happens. So we're on the first iteration. How many times is it going to iterate now? By the way, there's 10 numbers in that array. So will it iterate twice, let's say, for the first 4, and then it could be 5 to the second 4, or another option? All of them. So we reckon 10 times, yeah? Let's see. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. Will it go any further? It's gone further. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah? And then finally it spits out the array with 2 4s at the end. Yeah, so again we've noticed some distinct differences there between find and filter. Find will only run until it finds the first match or the first truthy result of its callback. And filter will just check every single element in the array. It will iterate as many times as there are elements in the array. So just to summarize that, I'll go back to my slides just so we can see it visually as well. Oops. Yeah, so that was our general syntax, right? We dealt with the general syntax to begin with. They just take one argument, and that argument is a callback function. By the way, any function that gets passed to a method or a function in JavaScript is known as a callback function. And all it really means is it's a function that gets called after something has happened, after another bit of code has happened. Yeah, that's all it really means. It's nothing fancy. You can think of it as a regular old function. So that was our differences we noticed in the return value. Array.find returns the value of the first element. That returns a truthy value from the callback function. Whereas filter returns an array, this time, not the actual value, but an array of all the elements that return the truthy value from the callback function. Yeah, so there's the difference. Am I going to spoil it if I go one more? Let's see. We've done how many iterations as well. So find only goes until that first element is found and just returns a single element. Whereas filter executes that callback function for each and every element in the array. So we had 10 elements in our numbers array, it executed 10 times. Make sense so far? Any questions? Cool, so we'll go and look at, well, I've got one more question for you actually. So if we entered a number that wasn't in our list, so let's say I put in 99, when I use find, what's it going to return? And when I use filter, what is it going to return? So there's a point each again for those ones. Undefined for which one, Ewan? Both? Do you want to guess just one so that you get the point, or are you going for both points, like all or nothing?
Yeah,
all or nothing? Okay. Does anyone disagree with Ewan first?
I would say undefined for find.
Undefined for find.
And empty array for filter.
Okay. For find it's undefined, we're saying now, yeah. And for filter, Ewan said it's going to be undefined, Anais said it's going to be an empty array. Which one's it going to be, guys? Who are you going with? Oh, I spelled it wrong, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to push you all. So, Nilofer, what are you going for? For find and filter, you said find is undefined, and filter is going to be undefined as well? No, don't know. No. Okay, so I'm saying when we pass in the value of 99 to this function, so 99 is not in our list, what will filter return when there's no matches in that callback function? It will search everything, but then it will still return a value. What will that value be? Will it be undefined, empty array, null, not a number, something else? What's that? Are we all going for empty array then?
Yeah.
I think even Ewan's changed his mind, right?
He's
Alright.
not allowed to change his mind.
No, I know he's not there. Don't worry, you won't get the points. You were the first one that did that answer. So let's just run it and check, okay? So we're using find first. I should have taken out a breakpoint. That's okay, there's only a couple. Oh no. No, it's going to go through them all, isn't it? Yeah, because of course it didn't find anything. So we get undefined, right? Let me take out the breakpoint just so we can see that again. So I run it with find. There's another breakpoint. Where does that come from? And we get undefined. Let me just put a space in there, so hopefully it's getting rid of the breakpoints. Okay, and then if we do filter, this was the one we had a question about, right? If we put in a number that's not in this array, we try and filter for it, what's it going to return? Undefined, empty array, something else. Empty array. Nice, so well done on this, that's good. Yeah, fantastic. So again, we could summarize that, but we know what it does now, right? So that's just being aware of the return values, that find always returns a value, or undefined if no value is found, and filter always returns an array, either an empty one if no matches are found, or all of the matching elements if some are found. Yeah? Cool. So with all that in mind, all that information about find and filter, let's do some more examples, right? So they progressively get harder as you go on. So yeah, that's our general syntax. This time, hopefully you can see that, we've got an array of ages, and we just want to see if there's a child in the group. So this time the child, we're distinguishing a child as under 12 years old. So who wants to have a go at writing that function for me? 2 points for a correct answer again. Aeneas, you're excluded for now. Because you got the 2 points for the previous one, yeah? Return, okay, Porik's going for it. So where am I going return, Porik? I've already got this though.
After find callback function, you will want to open up a curly brace.
So am I getting rid of the callback function? Because that's just a placeholder, right?
After.
Oh, okay. Oops. So you want something like that?
Outside of the brackets.
Oh, hang on. Outside of the brackets, like that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just call this function callback function.
Sorry, what am I doing now, Porik?
I lost myself. I lost my train of thought.
I'll tell you what, how about we just start from there, yeah? So we're doing find. Tell me what goes inside of find.
I think it was ages. So searching through the array.
Okay. I'm going to help you out a little bit because this is only the second one. So ages is our array that we want to find stuff within, yeah? So I just put array as a placeholder name. So let's call the find method on the ages array to find an age that is less than 12, yeah?
So in the brackets after find, we needed to put another function name, didn't we? Then we open up curly braces afterwards and find the function.
So you want me to write function?
Well, just asking you, is it correct to put in a new function name there, which we then define in a curly brace afterwards?
Let's go with someone who knows, and then I'll talk through it, yeah? Yep, Richard?
Start by putting another parentheses inside of there.
Another set of parentheses. So these are our arguments for the callback function, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Age,
Age, yeah.
and go outside of that parentheses and do equals greater than, yeah.
Okay, so we've created an arrow function.
Open the curly brace,
Yeah.
and inside of there we want to return,
You want me to write return?
let's return less than 12.
Less than 12.
Semicolon.
Semicolon.
And inside the children in root, we put ages.
Yep, because we passed it in. We can call it anything we want, but it must match obviously the array here. So that's fine. Yep.
And a semicolon at the end of the return ages or find.
And a semicolon here as well, you're saying, yeah? Okay. Everyone agree with that, or any problems spotted?
Why are we using greater than or equal to after the find age if we're trying to find the less than 12?
It's just shorthand for.
Oh, this here.
Yeah.
This is not a greater than or equals to. That would be the other way round. That would be like that. That's greater than or equals to. This is an arrow function in JavaScript, yeah? It's the modern way of writing callback functions,
Okay.
yeah? So we can make it even shorter, yeah, slightly shorter. Will it run though as it is? Yeah, okay, let's have a look. There we go. So we found 7, right? Just 7. Why didn't it find 10?
We're using find.
Because we're using find, exactly, yeah. So it only returns the first one. If we wanted to return all of the children below 12, how would we change that function? Filter instead of find? Yeah. I run that now. Ooh. What happened there? That's my silly fault, isn't it? What do we do in DevTools? Wrap everything inside of curly braces. So you see what error that avoids? Ages has already been declared, yeah? Because we've already stored ages in memory, globally, if you like. And then I tried to do it again. If we put everything within a block, like so, then it will create that variable again in a separate block. So, still complaining I might have done something else. Identify ages, not written clear. Let's see, I think this will probably run now. Yeah, there we go. And we get 7 and 10. Vincent said something interesting earlier though. He said we can make that even shorter. So how would you make this even shorter then, Vincent? Remove the curly brackets. And remove the return. And the semicolon. And voila. Yeah. And you can also remove those as well. Yeah. Because there's only one argument. If we had age and gender or something, then we'd need the brackets again because there's 2 arguments there, yeah, and we have to contain them both as arguments. But if we just got one argument, then we're allowed to omit the parentheses, yeah. And if, for example, yeah, could we do something like that, drop it down another line with that syntax? By the way, let me just prove that still works first. Yep, so we've still got 7 and 10, yeah? But if instead I dropped it down to a new line, is that syntax still valid? Yeah. But it's not the nicest way to do it, right? So generally, if we go onto a new line, we tend to put stuff in curly braces. And then if we have put it in curly braces, what do we need again? Semicolon, absolutely, yeah. But anything else? And the return, yeah. Because if we had, or even, yeah, do we need the semicolon? If I put it in the wrong place. Oh, you want a semicolon there? Sorry, yeah. Yeah. See, that doesn't work, yeah. Whereas if we have a return, then it will work again. Okay, so if you drop things down onto a new line and you use curly braces, please remember to put the return in. If it's a very short statement and you want to do it all in one line, then you're quite it's quite valid to just write something like that. Yeah. So preference really, but make sure it's readable. Cool. Thanks for those answers, guys. How long we got? Yeah, we're nearly out of time, so yeah, we'll see if we can quickly race through these two. So there's 2 more points on offer for this one. This time we want to return the adults in the group. Let's say the adults are above age, well, above 18, yeah, above 18 or 21. It's not going to matter in this case. Who would like to have a go at this one? Let's return both the adults. So this is our data. We've got a group. What data type is our group? So group itself, is that lots of objects or a single object or something else? Yeah, okay, so group is an array still because we've got these square brackets outside, but within it, you're quite right, we have some key value pairs. We have 4 objects within our array. Yeah, don't forget arrays can store anything. They can store numbers, strings, functions, arrays, whatever, yeah, any other data type. Okay, cool. So then what's my function going to be for this one? Getting a little bit harder now. We said we wanted to return both, so in other words, more than one. So do I use find? Do I use filter? Filter, yeah, good start. How do I access my group inside of this function? Because at the moment it's sitting outside, right? So how would I pass that data into my adults in group function? There's nothing down here, or there's nothing up here at the moment. So
Do you want just the name, or do you want?
you can return the whole object for now. I'm happy. You can return an array of objects of the ones that are over 21. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So what's my next step? How would I get that group data into my function so that I can filter it? Type group here, where I am, or up here? There? Okay. Then what? So if I've got group there, do I need group anywhere else? Down here, line 13 or line 3? Line 13. Okay. So I'm now returning people.filter and I need to write my function. Okay, what does people need to be called? Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Because we passed our data in as group, then we need to filter on our group array. Okay, great stuff. The function would be, what was our one required parameter? It was an element, wasn't it? Yeah. So you want to call it adult, but are they all adults?
No.
So what's a better name rather than adult? Person? That do? Yeah. Is it people, plural? Or are we looking at one at a time? Right? Filter is going over them one at a time. So we tend to use a singular name there for our argument. Yeah. So person works. We can then use an arrow function again, as Richard suggested in the previous question. And then what do we want to return? How can we make a truthy or falsy test this time based on the person's age? So is it group.age? That's Anas's suggestion. What, greater than something? Or greater than 18, let's say. Will that work? Yeah, I'll run it. Let's see what happens. Empty array.
So you have to return the person.
Group.age.value. Where's the value? I can't see a value anywhere. We've got name, we've got age. There's no value key. Don't think that will help. Oh, no, definitely not. Cannot read property value of undefined, right? What have we got here? Yeah.
So you have to return.
So look at our filter function. Inside, the only argument we've got access, well, it's not true, but the argument for each individual element is called person. So therefore, group is referring to the whole array, right? Whereas person will refer to the individual object within that array. So it'll be person.age, exactly. Let's try that again now.
Or we need semicolon after the curly brackets.
What's that?
Semicolon after the curly bracket.
Here?
Yeah.
And here technically, yeah. That one, yeah, okay. Oh, we've now got two things inside, it's promising. What should they be? What names should they have? Is it going to be Bobby, Arabella, George, Ava? What's going to be inside these two objects? We wanted to return the adults, right? So we should have returned George and Ava, right? And we did. I didn't ask for the name, I just asked for the object in this case, but let's say you want to return the name then. How would you just return the name? An array of names, let's say. Person.name, where does the person.name go, Nilofer? After the here, so person.age.name. What do you mean? No. So here, person.name. But then if we've already parentheses, I don't think that's going to help either. No, so I like having the person object. Yeah, we've got an object now. We know how to, well, we're beginning to know how to work with objects. We can get a property or a key of that object by just using the dot syntax, or Ricardo showed you yesterday as well. We could use the square bracket syntax and pass it as a string. Yeah, same thing. That's a bit clumsy when we know the property name, so therefore we can just do person.age like that. But then rather than, what's happening now? I'm caught missing, I've omitted a bracket somewhere, there we go. But then rather than returning the whole object, let's just return the name, right? So we can literally chain .name onto the end of that. And that should get us an array of, ooh, hang on. Hang on, what am I doing here then? So we've returned, so that's returned an array. Yeah, good point. So yes, we need to do map. You're quite right. So we've got an array, and we've still got an array of the whole person, but this time we want to map it into person.name, right? If you haven't looked at map yet, don't worry, we're doing that next Monday, I believe. We're going to look at map, for each, and reduce. 3 more really useful array methods. And then we get George and Ava as an array. Yeah, so yeah, we need to definitely use map when we need to, when we have an array, right? And we want to just access one property within an object. I was thinking that we were getting the value returned. So if instead we used find, like so, what's that going to return firstly? So I'm still doing the same test. Person.age is greater than 18.
The George line.
It's going to return the George object, yeah? This one. Let's have a look. I'll just clear that again, run it. Yeah, correct. Now, if I just wanted the name George, how would I access that? But this time, we've just got an object rather than having an array. So map is an array method, which is why we had to use it with filter, because we return an array. This time we're just returning an object.
I'm guessing it's the dot name.
And this time it's the dot name, like I incorrectly did before, yeah? And there we go, we get George, yeah? So if we've got an object, of course, we can just access the property of it using the dot syntax. But if we are using filter, we're returning an array. So therefore, to just get the name this time, we need to do something like a dot map, pass the object in, and transform it into person.name. Cool. I did have one more example, but I think I'm probably going to leave it there, and I will share the additional harder example with you on Slack. And if you want to have more practice, as well as of course on the platform, we've got find and filter training on both beginner and intermediate. Oops, so we've also got find and filter there on beginner, and find and filter there on intermediate on the platform. So obviously there's plenty of questions for you to practice these two array methods on. And I will share with you this extra little snippet here. So we just had to find the doctor again from the array of objects, yeah? So quite similar, slightly different. And then maybe have a think about how you could access not just the doctor, as in the Doctor Who, but actually any profession that contains doctor within it. Something like that, yeah. So I'll share that snippet with you on Slack. Optional, but it'd be good practice, right, to have a go at find and filter. Any questions, get back to me. And any questions in general before I shut the work. So which one on here? Go back to find, yeah, the previous example, yeah. I did not. There we go. Thanks for spotting that. I must have put an extra one in when we were doing multiple arguments and I forgot to take it out. Something like that. So yeah, good spot. I didn't need to do it at all. That will work as is. There we go. See? Cheers, Ewan. Anything else? Great. Thanks a lot, guys.